Basketball. A sport of relentless drive, power, and many unique colors. But it was not always like this. In 1950, Earl Lloyd, Nat Clifton, and Chuck Cooper became the first African Americans to get drafted to the NBA, sign an NBA contract, and play in an NBA game, caused by the growing popularity of basketball in black communities, and eventually leading to them being seen on a higher stage in black fives. In turn, they attracted NBA officials by their skill, talent, and audiences they drew in. Their signing, drafting, and playing in NBA games was a turning point in history because it broke down the previously established racial barriers, brought greater inclusivity and equality to sports unlike before, and paved the way for future generations of black athletes to excel. The dynamic and adrenaline-inducing game of basketball was created by James Naismith, a Canadian-American physical instructor born on November 6, 1861, in Almonte, Ontario. In 1891, the Great Blizzard occurred, forcing people to stay indoors, and as a PE teacher, he had to find something for his students to do inside.
One day I had an idea. I called the boys to the gym, divided them up into teams of 9, and gave them an old soccer ball. I showed them 2 peach baskets I'd nailed up at each end of the gym, and I told them the idea was to throw the ball into the opposing team's peach basket. I blew a whistle, and the first game of basketball began.
The popularity of this sport spread abundantly, causing the creation of the first professional basketball league, the National Basketball League, also known as the NBL, in 1898. But there was a problem. Those teams were strictly white, and there was a large amount of racial prejudice in America. African Americans constantly struggled to gain their civil rights since the Atlantic slave trade from the 16th to the 19th century. Yes, they were freed by the Emancipation Proclamation issued by Abraham Lincoln on January 1st, 1863. But still, in spite of these conditions, social views that African Americans were inferior to whites remained in all places, including sports. According to Gunnar Myrdal, a Swedish sociologist, the theory of social Darwinism supported such circumstances. He said, "The Negro race is said to be several hundreds or thousands of years behind the white man in development. Culture is then assumed to be an accumulated mass of memories in the race transmitted through genes. A definite biological ceiling is usually provided. The mind of the Negro race cannot be improved beyond a given level. Such biological ceiling bestowed the discrimination presented in sports and the limits set on the black race." To further such a concept, the Jim Crow laws were imposed in 1896 after the Plessy v. Ferguson Supreme Court ruling upheld a separate but equal doctrine. Jim Crow laws were local and state laws enforcing racial segregation. Everything from schools to restrooms to swimming pools and even to houses were segregated. As a result, blacks were prohibited from playing sports with whites. Regardless, striving to sustain their lives, millions of African Americans moved from the south to the north in search of economic opportunities in manufacturing and industry. This event was called the Great Migration, sparked by the end of World War I. It caused them to concentrate in smaller areas, leading to more socialization at playgrounds, clubs, and additional locations. So, with that, the physically active began to play basketball as an activity to keep them busy. In 1904, people in the black communities came together and started to form their own teams, called Black Fives, because the starting lineup for basketball is 5 people. In 1926, what would be the most influential team to the integration of basketball emerged: the Harlem Globetrotters, founded by Abe Saperstein. The Globetrotters always attracted large audiences with ease because of their showmanship, humor, and talent. On February 19, 1948, at the Chicago Stadium, the Harlem Globetrotters had a matchup against the Minneapolis Lakers, which was an all-white team. Many critics laughed about this matchup because they did not think a comedic and all-black team could defeat the Lakers, an all-white and championship team of the NBL. At this time, the league did not have a large audience, which caused them to rapidly lose their money, putting it at risk of falling apart. But with the Globetrotters' easy attraction, over 17,000 people sat down to watch this matchup. During this game, the Globetrotters lit up the court and showed their game intelligence and skills. At first, they struggled, but with 1 minute and 30 seconds left, they were tied 59-59. In the end, Globetrotter Irma Robinson shot a buzzer beater and his team won the game. The result of this game drew the eyes of team owners and league officials because of the great abilities that were demonstrated. Globetrotters coach Abe Saperstein neither agreed nor disagreed when it came to the interest of the National Basketball League's officials. He carried a looming fear that his franchise would fall apart due to the loss of his star players moving on to a better opportunity. On August 3, 1949, the National Basketball League and the Basketball Association of America came together to form the National Basketball Association, also known as the NBA. The game between the Globetrotters and the Lakers showed to the officials of the NBA that all black teams and black players in general were a force to be reckoned with, especially three-star players on the Globetrotters: Earl Lloyd, Nat Clifton, and Chuck Cooper, who changed the game of basketball by breaking its color barrier. In 1950, Chuck Cooper, a 6'5", 24-year-old born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1926, became the first black man to be drafted into the NBA. He was drafted as the 14th pick overall to the Boston Celtics, owned by Walter A. Brown. Walter A. Brown agreed with this decision as he said, "I don't care if they're green, white, black, or yellow. So, as long as they can play." Nat Sweetwater Clifton, a 6'8", 27-year-old born in England, Arkansas in 1922, became the first black man to sign an NBA contract. He joined the New York Knicks, owned by Joe Lapchick. Lapchick became very fond of Clifton because he noticed the talent in him regardless of his color and was insistent on integrating the Knicks. Before Clifton joined the team, Joe Lapchick told Bobby Douglas that he would resign if his team was limited to only one color. Fortunately, he ended up being able to draft him. Earl Lloyd, a 6'6", 21-year-old born in Alexandria, Virginia in 1928, became the first black man to play in an NBA game. He joined the Washington Capitals, owned by Ned Irish. This game altered the face of the NBA and basketball forever. It took place on October 31st, 1950 at the Edgerton Park Stadium in New York. It was a matchup against the championship team, the Rochester Royals. People filled up the stands to see what an African-American man could do in the NBA. He put up 6 points, 5 assists, and a whopping 10 rebounds, leading the team in that category. Unfortunately, the Capitals lost 70-78, but that did not matter because Earl Lloyd was still able to show off his athletic ability regardless of his color. However, NBA fans and teammates were strongly against the integration of the NBA. According to Lapchick's son Richard, owners of some arenas built nets around the court when violence was threatened so that angry fans couldn't get to the players. Additionally, some coaches and team owners resisted the integration because they thought the quality of the league would decrease and that team chemistry would lessen. White and black teammates even went to separate hotels because the Jim Crow laws were still imposed and did not end until the mid-20th century. However, this game proved many doubters wrong about their assumption that African Americans lacked athleticism and would not be able to contribute to the league. And black communities had a supporting viewpoint of these events because they enjoyed the representation brought to the public eye as the NBA was streamed on TV and watched in person. One of the immediate effects of these events was the increase of black players joining the league. For example, Hank Desney was the 4th black man to join the NBA behind the trio of pioneers. Harold Hunter was another one of the first. Jim Tucker was the first black man to win an All-Star game, and Don Barksdale was the first black man to compete in the USA Olympic basketball games. This brought a wider audience to the league, and with a wider audience came higher attendance. So, ticket sales and team revenue increased, allowing for more sponsorships, TV deals, and higher salaries. The success of black players in the NBA also helped in the fight for legislative changes and aided in the imposition of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibited discrimination based on race, color, religion, or national origin in public accommodations, including sports facilities. And now for the long-term impact. Today, 82% of the number 1 all-time stat leaders are black. Most points, LeBron James. Most three-pointers, Stephen Curry. Most rebounds, Wilt Chamberlain. Most blocks, Hakeem Olajuwon. And the list goes on to represent the unstoppable effort shown time and time again in black history to break through the concept of their inferiority. In addition, the appearance of African Americans on a wider stage was no longer seen as an atrocity. Instead, it became normal for them to be viewed by a large audience, not only in sports, but in singing, acting, dancing, rapping, and more. Therefore, these events were a step forward to more inclusivity in America. The integration of the NBA in 1950 was vital for the course of sports and black history because it instilled awareness of the true talent and worthiness of African Americans to be involved and included in society. The trio of pioneers, Earl Lloyd, Nat Clifton, and Chuck Cooper, took a leap of faith and a jump into hate, but they made it through. They challenged white superiority in sports, increasing the expression of African Americans in society and exemplifying black excellence. Future generations of people are now inspired to defy the odds and expected standards by rising above them. So, remember, it was not only about the game points, it's about the turning points.